Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vande Aham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, thank you all for coming. So today we will discuss inquiries from Canto 1, Chapter 15, submitted by you all devotees. I will bring up the inquiries on screen. Question number 1. If Krishna's death by the hunter was purely an illusion to bewilder atheists, doesn't that make historical records of the Mahabharata unreliable for an objective seeker? How can one distinguish between a real historical event and a pastime meant to trick a specific audience? So Mahabharata events are real events and not illusions. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.30 and 31, we have discussed the bewildering quality of Krishna. So one has to become a devotee, then one will understand and relish Krishna's pastimes. The bewilderment for devotees happens because of Krishna and Yog Maya. Non-devotees are bewildered because of Mahamaya. So devotees have no problem in accepting Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill, while non-devotees think Krishna lifting Govardhan hill to be a myth. Right? So it's the consciousness of a devotee that we have to develop and see the activities from the eyes of a devotee. The same events bewilder non-devotees. So we will read these verses 1.8.30 and 31 as well as 1.9.34, where Bhishma Dev is also saying that all these fighting was bewilderment for non-devotee, but devotees have no problem in Bhishma Dev shooting arrows at Krishna. So let's first read 1.8.30 translation and purport, and then 1.8.31 translation. See, I have on the screen. Yeah. 1830 translation and purport. Subhash Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Of course, it is bewildering, O soul of the universe, that you work, though you are inactive, and that you take birth, though you are the vital force and the unborn. You yourself descend amongst animals, men, sages, and architects. Verily, this is bewildering. Purport. The transcendental pastimes of the Lord are not only bewildering, but also apparently contradictory. In other words, they are all inconceivable to the limited thinking power of the friendly. The Lord is the all prevailing supersoul from existence, and yet he appears in the form of bird, amongst the animal, in the form of human being as Rama, Krishna, etc., in the form of Rishi like Narayana, and in the form of an ascetic like a fish. Yet it is said that he is unborn and he has nothing to do. In the Shruti Mantra, it is said that Supreme Brahma has nothing to do. No one is equal or greater than him. He has manifold energies and everything is performed by him perfectly by automatic knowledge, strength and activity. All these statements prove without any question that the Lord's activities, form and grace are all inconceivable to our limited thinking power, and because he is inconceivably powerful, everything is possible in him. Therefore, no one can calculate him exactly. Every action of the Lord is bewildering to the common man. He cannot be understood by the basic knowledge, but he can be easily understood by the pure devotees because they are intimately related with him. The devotees therefore know that although he appears amongst animals, he is not an animal, nor a man, nor a rishi, nor a fish. He is eternally the Supreme Lord in all circumstances. 31 has read probably.
31, you can read the translation.
31 translation. My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflowed with tears, which was the mascara from your eyes, and you were afraid. Though fear personified is afraid of you, this sight is bewildering to me.
Right.
Hare
So
Krishna.
this bewildering quality is a quality of Krishna. And we read um, that non-devotees are bewildered. Similarly, we'll read 1.9.34 translation and paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, where similar point is again explained. Shreyanshi, 1934 translation and 3 paragraphs.
On the battlefield where Sri Krishna attended Arjuna out of friendship, the flowing hair of Lord Krishna turned ashen due to the dust raised by the hoofs of the horses, and because of his labor, beads of sweat wetted his face. All these decorations, intensified by the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows, were enjoyed by him. Let my mind thus go on to Sri Krishna. The Lord is the absolute form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. As such, transcendental loving service to the Lord in one of the five principal relations, namely Shanta Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, that is, neutrality, servitorship, fraternity, parental affection, and conjugal love, is graciously accepted by the Lord when offered to the Lord in genuine love and affection. Sri Bhishma Dev is a great devotee of the Lord in the relation of a servitorship. Thus, his throwing of sharpened arrows at the transcendental body of the Lord is as good as the worship of another devotee who throws soft roses upon him. It appears that Bhishma Dev is repenting the actions he committed against the person of the Lord, but factually the Lord's body was not at all pained due to his transcendental existence. His body is not matter, both he himself and his body a completely spiritual identity. Spirit is never pierced, burnt, dried, moistened, etc. This is vividly explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So also it is stated in the Skanda Purana. It is said that spirit is always uncontaminated and indestructible. It cannot be distressed nor can it be dried up. When Lord Vishnu in his incarnation appears before us, he seems to be like one of the conditioned souls materially encased just to bewilder the asuras or the non-believers who are always alert to kill the Lord even from the very beginning of his appearance. Kansa wanted to kill Krishna and Ravana wanted to kill Ram because foolishly they were unaware of the fact that Lord is never killed um for the spirit is never annihilated. Therefore, Bhishma Dev's piercing of the body of Lord Krishna is a sort of bewildering problem for the non-devotee atheists, but those who are devotees or liberated souls are not bewildered.
Right? Uh, Non-devotees are bewildered. Devotees are not bewildered for the same event. Does that answer the inquiry? Right. Question number 2. Can you please help me in understanding Srimad Bhagavatam 1.15.6? So let's first read 1.15.6, translation and purport, and then we'll discuss. Ramya, 1.15.6, translation and purport. Sorry.
Hare Krishna. Translation. I have just lost him, whose separation for a moment would render all the universes unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Unquote. Factually, for a living being, there is no one dearer than the Lord. The Lord expands himself by innumerable parts and parcels as Swamsha and Vipinamsha. Paramatma as is the Swamsha part of the Lord, whereas the Vipinamsha parts are the living being. As the living being is the important factor in the material body, for without the living being, the material body has no value. Similarly, without Paramatma, the living being has no status quo. Similarly, Brahman or Paramatma has no locus standi without the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is thoroughly explained in the Bhagavad Gita. They are all interlinked with one another or interdependent factors. Thus, in the ultimate issue, the Lord is the summum bonum and therefore the vital principle of everything.
All right, so the Swamsha and Vibhimsha are the points to discuss from this verse. So this Swamsha and Vibhimsha expansions are elevated subject matters discussed in detail in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Right now, I will briefly explain, not in detail. It's a very elaborate subject matter. To understand this, I will first bring up on screen 3.21.32 will read the translation and purport. That will make our discussions easier to follow. So we have 3.21.32. Let's see. Raksha, translation and purport.
Translation. O great sage, I shall manifest my own plenary portion through your wife, Devahuti, along with your 9 daughters, and I shall instruct her in the system of philosophy that deals with the ultimate principles or categories. Purport. Hearing the word Samsva Kalaya indicates that the Lord would appear as the son of Devahuti and Kardama Muni as Kapila Deva, the first propounder of the Sankhya philosophy, which is mentioned here as Tattva Samhita. The Lord foretold to Kardama Muni that he would appear in his incarnation Kapila Dev and would propagate the philosophy of Sankhya. Sankhya philosophy is very well known in the world as propagated by another Kapila Deva, but that Sankhya philosophy is different from the Sankhya which was propounded by the Lord himself. There are two kinds of Sankhya philosophy. One is godless Sankhya philosophy and the other is godly Sankhya philosophy. The Sankhya propagated by Kapila Deva, son of Devahuti, is godly philosophy. There are different manifestations of the Lord. He is one, but he has become many. He divides himself into two different expansions, one called Kala and the other Vibhi, Vibhinamsha. Ordinary living entities are called Vibhinahamsha expansions, and the unlimited expansions of Vishnu Tattva, such as Vamana, Govinda, Narayana, Pradyumna, Vasudeva, and Ananta, are called Somsha Kala. Somsha refers to the direct expansion, and Kala denotes an expansion from the expansion of the original Lord. Baladev is an expansion of Krishna, and from Baldev, the next expansion is Sankarshana. Thus, Sankarshana is Kala, but Baladev is Swavamsa. There is no difference, however, among them. This is very nicely explained in the Brahma Samhita 5.46. Deeparchir evahi dasantaram abhyupetya. With one candle, one may light a second candle, with the second a third, and then a fourth. And in this way, one can light up thousands of candles, and no candle is inferior to another in distributing light. Every candle has the full candle power, but there is still the distinction that one candle is the first, another the second, another the third, and another the fourth. Similarly, there is no difference between the immediate expansion of the Lord and his secondary expansion. The Lord's names are considered in exactly the same way, since the Lord is absolute, his name, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia, and his qualities all have the same potency. In the absolute world, the name Krishna is the transcendental sound representation of the Lord. There is no difference in potency between his qualities, name, form, etc. If we chant the name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, that has as many potency as the Lord himself. There is no difference in potency between the form of the Lord whom we worship and the form of the Lord in the temple. One should not think that one is worshipping a doll or statue of the Lord, even if other considers it to be a statue, because there is no difference in potency. One gets the same result by worshipping the statue of the Lord or the Lord himself. This is the science of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
So the Swamsha and the Vibhimsha and the Swamsha Kala, all these terms are described in this verse. Therefore, we read this verse. So basically, ordinary living entities, meaning we all, we are Vibhinamsha, and unlimited expansions of Vishnu Tattva. They are like the Vamana, Govinda, Narayan, Pradyumna, etc. So Swamsha refers to direct expansion, and the Swamsha Kala refers to expansion from the expansion. And in the purport, Prabhupada gave an example that Baladev is expansion of Krishna. So Baldev is an example of Swamsha, direct expansion. And from Baldev came the first quadruple expansions of the first Sankarshan. Therefore, Sankarshan is the Swamsha Kala expansion. However, there is no difference. And Prabhupada gives the example through the candle analogy that you can light so many candles from one candle to the other, to the other, to the other. All candle have the same potency. But still, the first candle is still the first candle. So Krishna is still the first candle. from whom everyone else expands. So basically, direct expansion from Krishna is Swamsha, means Swa Amsha. And expansion from the expansion of Krishna is Swamshakala. And we all at Jiva Tattva level, we are Vibhinamsha. Does that answer the inquiry, questions, comments, realizations? All right, looks like I may have to play the critter sound today. Let's see. All right, question number 3. Please help me understand why it's being said that I cannot pray to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Is he not listening to my prayers unless I pray to Srimati Radharani? Should I be praying to Vishnu or Hari instead? I am quite taken aback with this concept that I cannot pray to the Almighty. So the context of this question is that we were discussing last time about this inquiry that devotees in Vrajvas chant the name of Srimati Radharani. And therefore, I put here that context for this inquiry is that at our last class discussion was that true devotees know that they cannot approach Krishna directly. Instead, they approach Srimati Radharani, who then recommends the devotee to Krishna. So the devotee says to me, approach equates to praying to Krishna. So can you kindly explain if Krishna listens to my prayers if I did not first pray to Srimati Radharani? So you can pray to Krishna directly, Krishna will listen. Now praying to Vishnu is also praying to Krishna. There's no difference. If you read Nectar of Devotion, chapter number 2, this point is word for word, Prabhupada says, that you pray to Krishna or you pray to Vishnu is identical. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has said in 9.26 that offer him simple items, but he's looking for love and devotion. He says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yome bhakta prayachati. Tadaham bhakti upahatam asnami prayatatmanaha. And then in 9.27 Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that even if you do not have devotion, still offer everything to Krishna because that offering process will also purify you. Now, more important point is that by devotional service, by worship, by chanting, etc., we are trying to please Krishna. And Krishna is pleased when Krishna's devotees are glorified. So this is the point we were discussing at our last class with the inquiry that why Vrajvasis take the name of Srimati Radharani. It is because Vrajvasis want to please Krishna. Plus Vrajvasis know that to approach Krishna, we have to go through Krishna's devotees. Understand that we are not qualified to directly approach Krishna. Therefore, the bhoga offering that we do not offer to Krishna. Rather, we ask Guru Maharaj or Srila Prabhupada to offer to the lotus feet of Krishna. Similarly, the lamp worship or any devotional service, we ask spiritual master or Srila Prabhupada to allow, for example, to allow me to wake up the Lord on your behalf, to offer the worship to the Lord on your behalf. This is what we say first thing in the morning or when we start doing our devotional services. So those of you who have seen the Bhoga offering demonstration from my home temple. At the time, I was not initiated, so I had clearly shown that we are not offering to Krishna. Yeah, on the altar there is Shri Radha Krishna. But then we also have the Guru Parampara. So I said, everybody in that video, I said, everybody look at Srila Prabhupada. You are offering and you are saying all the prayers to Srila Prabhupada. And let Srila Prabhupada offer to Krishna. Because we are not qualified. So at the temple, when the pujaris offer the lamp worship, so next time you go to the temple, you observe this closely, that if the Prabhupada disciple is doing the worship, then there is nothing additional to do because Prabhupada is also there on the altar as part of Guru Parampara. But if there is disciple of another spiritual master, so at the Toronto temple, we have many disciples of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami. So what these pujaris who are disciples of Gopal Krishna Goswami, they put the picture of their spiritual master while they are doing the worship, because they are asking for permission and they are saying, please allow me. And then the Guru Maharaj allows and then they do the worship. So we are not qualified. Yes, Krishna is hearing what we are saying and asking and worshipping. But if we want to please Krishna, then we have to follow the proper process. And Krishna has said this multiple places in Bhagavatam. And we will read 1.5.23 in the middle of the purport. Let me bring up on screen. Priyanka will read. So this is 1.5.23. And in the purport, it says, I will highlight. Priyanka, you can read what is highlighted.
Hare Krishna. From the personal example of Sri Narad Muni in his previous birth, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service.
Right? The Lord himself is saying, the service of his servants is greater than Lord's personal service. And from the example of Narad Muni, service of the Lord begins with the service of Lord's bona fide servants. So this is what we were discussing last class, that all the Vrajvasis, they very clearly know, Vrajvasis are pure devotees largely, most of them. They clearly know this principle that I want to please Krishna, I should please Krishna's devotee, and Srimati Radharani is the highest devotee. And they know the shortcut, that if Srimati Radharani gets pleased and Srimati Radharani recommends the devotee to Krishna, well, then Krishna can never say no. Does that answer the inquiry? Although one devotee has asked, many may have this question.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, I have one queries.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't have any spiritual master.
Mhm.
So how we offer our prayers or offer worship? What we will do?
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada is Jagat Guru. So if you see the Bhoga offering demonstration from my home temple, at the time when I had recorded the Bhoga offering demonstration, I was not initiated at the time. And I offered to Srila Prabhupada and I asked everybody everybody is offering to Srila Prabhupada. So it's not that you don't have spiritual master. Srila Prabhupada is our spiritual master. And even after we get a living spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada will continue to be our spiritual master. So observe this. Next time you go to the temple, when the pujari is a disciple of a spiritual master who is not Srila Prabhupada, you will notice that there is a small little picture of their Guru Maharaj placed somewhere around the altar below Srila Prabhupada. So it's all goes in hierarchy, that they are placed, and they are saying, I am requesting permission and blessings from my spiritual master that please allow me to worship their lordships with this lamp. I am doing it on your behalf. So this is the mood we have to develop. This is the proper approach. And if you actually read 1.7.26, I can also bring it up on screen, where Prabhupada has explained that there is a process to approach the Lord. And we should try to follow that process. So let me bring up on screen 1.7.26. That's the verse it should be. So this 1.7.26. So these are 22 to 26 are the first set of prayers, mini prayers that Arjuna has recited. Path Prabhu, you want to read the translation, 1.7.26 translation and purport. Path Prabhu, unmute. Kunal, you want to read 1.7.26 translation and purport from the
Hare
screen?
Krishna Prabhuji, actually I didn't unmute, that's why.
Okay, Path Prabhu, go ahead.
1.7.26 translation. O Lord of Lords, how is it that this dangerous effulgence is spreading all around? Where does it come from? I do not understand it. Anything purport, anything that is presented before the personality of Godhead should be so done after due presentation of respectful prayers. That is standard procedure. And Sri Arjuna, although an intimate friend of the Lord, is observing this method of general information.
Very good. Does that answer, Path Prabhu, your inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji. Okay.
As well as, does it answer the inquiry that we have? Question number 3, everybody? Silence, I got silence.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Question number 4. Can you please talk about the required qualifications of a twice-born Brahmana? So, although the inquiry is on twice-born Brahmana, I will explain more, and we'll read verses for this. That a sincere disciple following 4 regulative principles, plus chanting, 16 rounds of japa, plus doing devotional service, is qualified to be initiated. Initiated means twice born. Now, as part of this inquiry, I will also explain other terms, which is Dvija, Vipra, Brahmana, Vaishnava, and then Dvija Bandhu also. Yeah, Dvija means twice born, but then you have to understand the whole sequence, and we'll read verses for this. We'll read 1.2.2. translation and purport, which describes Dvija, Vipra, Brahmana, and Vaishnava. Kunal Prabhu, 2.2, translation and purport.
Srila Suta Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the great sage Sukadev Goswami, who can enter the hearts of all. When he went away to take up the renounced order of life sannyasa, leaving home without undergoing reformation by the sacred thread of the ceremonies observed by the higher caste, his father Vyasadeva, fearing separation from him, cried out, O my son, indeed only the trees which were absorbed in the same feelings of separation echoed in the response to the bereaved father." Purport: The institution of Varna and Ashrama prescribes many regulative duties to be observed by his followers. Such duties enjoin that a candidate willing to study the Vedas must approach a bona fide spiritual master and request acceptance as his disciple. The sacred thread is a sign of those who are competent to study the Vedas from the Acharya or a bona fide spiritual master. Sri Sukadeva Goswami did not undergo any purificatory ceremonies because he was a liberated soul from his very birth. Generally, a man is born as an ordinary being, and by purificatory processes, he is born the second time. When he sees a new light and seeks direction for spiritual progress, he approaches a spiritual master for instruction in the Vedas. The spiritual master accepts only the sincere inquirer as his disciple and gives him the sacred thread. In this way, a man becomes twice born or a Dvija. After qualifying as a Dvija, one must study the Vedas, and after becoming well versed in the Vedas, one becomes a Vipra. A Vipra or a qualified Brahmana thus realizes the absolute and makes further progress in spiritual life until he reaches the Vaishnava stage. The Vaishnava stage is the postgraduate status of a Brahmana. A progressive Brahmana must necessarily become a Vaishnava, for a Vaishnava is a self-realized learned Brahmana. Sukadev Goswami was a Vaishnava from the beginning, therefore there was no need for him to undergo all the processes of the Varnashram institution. Ultimately, the aim of Varnashram Dharma is to turn crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord or a Vaishnava. Anyone, therefore, who becomes a Vaishnava accepted by the first class Vaishnava or Uttama Adhikari Vaishnava is already considered a Brahmana, regardless of his birth or past deeds. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted this principle and recognized Srila Haridas Tagore as the Acharya of the holy name. Although Tagore Haridas appeared in a Mohammedan family, in conclusion, Srila Sukadev Goswami was born as a Vaishnava, and therefore Brahmanism was included in him. He did not have to undergo any ceremonies. Any low-born person, be it a Kirata, Huna, Andhra, Pulinda, Pulkasa, Abhira, Sumbha, Yavana, Khasa, or even lower, can be delivered to the highest transcendental position by the mercy of Vaishnavas. Sri Sukadev Goswami was a spiritual master of Sri Suta Goswami, who therefore offers his respectful obeisances unto Srila Sukadev Goswami before he begins his answers to the questions of the sages at Naimisharanya.
Right, so the one part gets answered here, that the spiritual master accepts a sincere inquirer and initiates him, so he then becomes twice born or Dvija. Right, so this was one part, but I'm answering more, and I will also bring up 1719, which describes Dvija Bandhu. Let's read. So, Denisha, you wanna read translation and purport from the screen? 1719.
When the son of the Brahmana saw that his horses were tired, he considered that there was no alternative for protection outside of his using the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, nuclear weapon, and the ultimate issue only when there is no alternative. The nuclear weapon, called the Brahmastra, is applied. The word Vijayamatra is significant here because Ashwatthama, although the son of Dronacharya, was not exactly a qualified Brahmana. The most intelligent man is called a Brahmana, and it is not here the title. Ashwatthama was also formerly called the Brahmabandhu, or the friend of a Brahmana. Being a friend of a Brahmana does not mean that one is a Brahmana by qualification. A friend or a son of a Brahmana, when fully qualified, can be called a Brahmana or not otherwise, since Ashwatthama's decision is immature. He is purposely called herein the son of a Brahmana.
All right, so to summarize all these points that we read, that when an ordinary conditioned soul seeks direction for spiritual progress, he approaches a bona fide spiritual master, and spiritual master accepts sincere inquirer as a disciple, initiates and gives him secret thread. He becomes Dvija, means the ordinary conditioned soul takes second birth. He is Dvija. After qualifying as Dvija, he studies Vedas. When he becomes well versed in Vedas, he becomes a Vipra or a qualified Brahmana. The Vipra or the qualified Brahmana makes further progress until he becomes a Vaishnava. Vaishnava is the highest. And the Dvija Bandhu, that Brahmana is most qualified and intelligent and qualified as a Brahmana. But somebody born in a Brahmana family who is not following the Brahmanical culture by guna and karma. So to recognize that you are born in a Brahmana family, but you yourself are not a Brahmana, therefore they have been given a special name. Dvija Bandhu, not a name but a category. Dvija Bandhu, that we recognize that you are friend or family of a Brahmana, or can apply to Kshatriya also. But you yourself are not a Brahmana. Dvija Bandhus are born in a Brahmana family, but they themselves do not have the qualities of a Brahmana. Therefore, they are called as Dvija Bandhu. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Question number 5. How do Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 1 Chapter 15 verses prepare the reader for the Pandavas' decision to give up royal life and retire to focus fully on Krishna? So Canto 1 Chapter 15 are not the verses that prepared Pandavas to fully focus on Krishna. Rather, it is Canto 1 Chapter 13 verse number 50, 1.13.50 is the verse where Srila Narad Muni gave a hint to Pandavas that Lord's pastime is about to end. And you Pandavas can stay as long as the Lord is here. Therefore, when Yudhishthir saw all the bad omens, Yudhishthir thought that all these bad omens are probably because Krishna has ended his pastime, and what Srila Narad Muni had mentioned earlier to the Pandavas to wait as long as Lord is on earth, means that time has come for us Pandavas to go back to Godhead. So pure devotees are always focused on serving the Lord. So let's read this 1:13:50 verse. I will bring up. We'll read the translation. Ritu, you want to read or you have a question?
No, Prabhuji, I want to read. Prabhuji, it is 1.13.50.
Yeah, 1:13:50, correct translation.
Yeah, yeah. Hare Krishna. The Lord has already performed his duties to help the demigods, and he is awaiting the rest. You Pandavas may wait as long as the Lord is here on the earth. On earth. Hare Krishna.
Right, so Narad Muni already gave this hint to the Pandavas. The Lord's pastimes are almost done. And as soon as the Lord leaves, you Pandavas, you can also go back to Godhead so as to serve the Lord in his next pastime. So this 1:13:50 is how Pandavas left everything and focused completely on going back home. Now, the upcoming verse in chapter 15, Canto 1, chapter 15, which will come up in your upcoming listening to the recording and reading. In this upcoming 1.15.49, the difference between Vidura as demigod and Pandavas is described that demigods are also associates of the Lord without personal touch, whereas the direct associates of the Lord, like the Pandavas, are in constant personal touch with the Lord. Does that answer the inquiry? All right, last question for today. What personal lesson do you draw from Arjuna's realization that all his fame, strength, and success were meaningful only as expressions of Krishna's grace? So this is the nature of a pure devotee. Pure devotee is detached because pure devotee does not think anything as his own. Rather, the pure devotee sees everything in connection with the Lord and sees everything for the service of the Lord. Does that answer the inquiry? All right. I don't have any. We are all caught up on all the inquiries. Anybody has any burning issues to discuss?
Prabhuji, I have a small query.
So probably on that point where
Hold
you
on,
were discussing
Kunal
about
Prabhu, hold
keeping
on.
the picture of the
Kunal
spiritual
Prabhu, hold
master and
on.
doing bhakti.
Kunal
And
Prabhu,
in the
hold
Spot
on.
Disciple course, it is said that Prabhupada is the center of everything and then everything.
Kunal Prabhu, I have muted you. You hold on. Path Prabhu, go ahead first.
Prabhuji, I have a just small queries. It is said that the Lord will be pleased while we worship the devotee of the Lord.
Yeah.
Then demigods are all the devotee of the Lord's also.
You are correct. And your question is?
My question is then, there it was, we have learned that if we worship demigod, that is the indirect. Hello?
Correct.
Am I audible?
Go ahead. I can listen.
So there it is learned that we should directly worship Krishna instead of demigods.
Yeah.
But here I'm finding it just a contradictory, because here it is said that we should first worship the devotee of the Lord.
Yeah, correct. So I will bring up on screen. Very good. I will bring up on screen 3 point. Let me find the verse. 3.15.12. Let me see. Let's see. Let me look up the verse. I will point to you and we will read where Krishna has explained that the demigods are Sakam devotees, and Krishna is not pleased by demigods. Rather, the pure devotees are Naishkarma devotees. Krishna is pleased with pure devotees. So let me bring up the verse, and give me a moment, I will find the verse. It should be 3.12 point. Canto 3, chapter 12. I'm just trying to find the verse. Okay, while I'm trying to find the verse, Kunal Prabhu, you can go ahead. We did not hear what you were trying to say earlier. You can please go ahead with your inquiry.
Yeah, Prabhuji, so I was kind of trying to ask regarding that point that we were discussing earlier about keeping the picture of the spiritual master while doing Aarti in the temple or at home. So in the ISKCON disciple course, it is said that Srila Prabhupada is the center of everything. He is the one who needs to be given the like pedestal, and then everything needs to go through him.
Right.
And then we are again trying to like keep the picture of the spiritual master. Because I remember like 10 years or maybe 15, maybe when I joined ISKCON, this activity was not very prevalent. Like it has recently started, like keeping the picture of the spiritual master.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just trying to see, like, I mean, it is good to go through the spiritual master. It is always good, but just
Yeah.
wanted to
So,
understand.
yeah, you are correct. So this ISKCON disciple course was not mandatory few years back. And what Kunal Prabhu pointed out is correct, that ISKCON governing council, they saw all these differences and they made ISKCON disciple course mandatory for everyone, including those who were already initiated also. They said, you all please complete the ISKCON disciple course to understand what is the position of Srila Prabhupada. That yes, Srila Prabhupada is at the top, and then our living spiritual master is one step below, and we are even below our spiritual master. So we are going to Krishna in a chain, that we are offering to our spiritual master, then our spiritual master is offering to Srila Prabhupada, if the spiritual master is Srila Prabhupada. and Srila Prabhupada is offering to his guru. And this way it goes all the way to Srimati Radharani, and Srimati Radharani offers to Krishna. Very good, thank you. Okay, so I found the verse for what Pad Prabhu was inquiring. It's 3, 9, 12. So it is 3, 9, 12. Paulomi is the only one who did not read. So we'll read this paragraph, which starts with Bhagavad Gita 4.11. Let me first ensure I'm reading it right. Yeah. Paulomi, this paragraph, Bhagavad Gita 4.11, read from here.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 4.11 states, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajami aham. Although the Lord is equally kind to every living being, the living beings for their own part are able to please the Lord to either a greater or lesser extent. The demigods are called Sakama devotees or devotees with material desires in mind, while the pure devotees are called Nishkama devotee because they have no desires for their personal interests. Prabhuji, should I continue?
Yeah, the whole paragraph.
Thank you. The Sakama devotees are self-interested because they do not think of others and therefore they are not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly, whereas the pure devotees take the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into devotees, and they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. The Lord is unmindful of the non-devotees, although He's sitting within everyone's heart as well-wisher and super soul. However, he also gives them the chance to receive his mercy through his pure devotees who are engaged in missionary activities. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities as he did in the form of Sri Chaitanya, but mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non-devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with his pure devotees that he wants to give them the credit for missionary success, although he could do the work personally. This is the sign of his satisfaction with his pure Nishkama devotees compared to the Sakama devotees. By such transcendental activities, the Lord simultaneously becomes free from the charge of partiality and exhibits his pleasure with the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Right, so Pad Prabhu's inquiry, Lord himself is saying this, that the demigods are Sakam devotees, while pure devotees are Nishkam. The Lord is more pleased with the pure devotees because they are Nishkam in delivering others. Demigods, they are Sakam devotees. They have their own desires. And then Lord goes on to say, this is the sign of satisfaction of his pure Nishkam devotees compared to Sakam devotees. Path Prabhu, you got your answer, and I will also bring up the yoga ladder where I have explained this earlier also. Path Prabhu?
Yes.
So if you recall, I'll close this. If you recall, yoga ladder we have discussed, and I will play this slide. And I have actually referred this verse when I was discussing this. So if you recall this slide, where I have said demigods are Sakam, while bhaktas, devotees, are at the top. So devotees are much higher than demigods. So it has visual appealing also, to highlight the demigods in red. We don't have to follow. And then bhakta, devotees, they are at the top. Pat Prabhu further helps you.
Yes. Now it is clear.
Thank you. Shreyanshi?
Yes, Prabhuji, I have a question. So I was just curious that when you mentioned that Yudhishthir knew that it was time to go because Lord's pastimes have ended. So Krishna was already 100 plus years when he had to go. But
125, yeah.
125. But what about Arjuna Yudhishthira? I'm just curious because it's nowhere mentioned like how old were they and did
So
they?
you are correct that their age is not mentioned specifically, but they were born around the same time. When Krishna appeared, they also appeared around the same time. So they will be roughly similar, not exactly the age. You are it probably is there in Mahabharata, but we don't need to worry about that. Now, other question will become what difference does it make their age?
Because Prabhuji, usually what we see that when somebody has completed all the two, three stages and then like they have done with their responsibilities, then only they're eligible to go back. Because the true
That's not correct.
devotees,
That's not
okay.
correct. You can go back home from any age, right? As long as you are doing devotional services. So just because you have heard from somewhere, ask for scriptural reference. Without scriptural reference, that statement has no meaning.
So if they're done with, how do we know, Prabhuji, that they are done with their responsibilities and like
So if you
having.
become a pure devotee, that's when you have no obligations in the material world. So Narad Muni has explained this in should be 1517, I think, that he says a pure devotee has no obligations in the material world. So pure devotee is the criteria, not obligations. Pure devotee. So let's see if 1517, although it's a very famous verse, let me see.
How do we know, Prabhuji, in this? For example, if somebody somebody who is walking this path and did like 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 one of the devotees said that Prabhupada personally told them that it's time to go like do devotional services full time. That is the instruction they got from Prabhupada. So in today's world, how does one know like that they are true now they have now become purified and now it's time to give like 24 hours to Krishna consciousness and not do anything materialistic.
Very good. I will bring up on screen the definition of pure devotional service, and you can judge for yourself whether you are a pure devotee or not. So many of you have completed Nectar of Devotion. What's the definition of pure devotional service?
Anyabhilashita-shunnyam.
Very good. You want to recite?
Anyabhilashita-shunnyam jnanakarnadi anadhutam
Anukulena.
anushīlanam bhakti uttama.
Very good. Read the translation also, Remya.
When the first-class devotional service develops, one must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy, and fruitive action. The devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as desire.
Right? Anya Abhilashita Shunyam. The very first line, and you can see the translation word for word. You have no desire to enjoy material world. You are in the material world only for service of Krishna. That's when you know you are a pure devotee. So you judge, are you a pure devotee or not? Shreyanshi, does that answer?
Prabhuji, I still don't understand why, because if somebody has responsibilities, then they have to I mean, Prabhuji, how should I tell you? If you have responsibilities and if you have taken care of everything and plus this verse, then I totally agree. But if somebody has not taken care of the responsibilities and they want to, uh,
So we have discussed that Krishna is taking care of everyone. Yes, we have our responsibilities. So if you take the example of Prabhupada, Prabhupada took sannyas after ensuring that his family is taken care of. He did not leave his responsibility. So you don't become a pure devotee like turning on a digital switch. It's a progression. Prabhupada also in the process, before he took sannyas, he ensured that his family is taken care of, that his wife will be taken care of by his children. Then he took sannyas. He did not run away from his responsibility. He first ensured that his family is taken care of. So, in the name of Krishna consciousness, you cannot run away from your responsibility. You have to first take care of your responsibility, then come to sannyas. So, nobody takes sannyas as age 5. Right? Sannyas is when you mature. So, there's a progression. Why Varna Ashram is given? Is given so that you have time-wise progression of from this age to this age, what are my activities, from this age to this age, what are my activities. So first 25 years is brahmachari. You know what are your activities in brahmachari life. From 25 to 50 is grahastha life. You know what are your activities in grahastha life, and it will come up in the recording that you're going to get today. Discussion on grahastha life is coming up. And then after 50, you take vanaprastha, and then sannyas is later. So this is why varnashram is given. You are given a structure to follow. You cannot just take sannyas arbitrarily, saying, I am taking sannyas. Who cares for my responsibility? No, it doesn't work that way. Krishna has given a structure to you all. Although the structure doesn't exist the way it's supposed to be, but we don't give up our responsibilities. We execute our responsibilities only when we have no material desires. That's when we become a pure devotee. Shreyaji.
okay, okay, Prabhuji, and also when spiritual master gives a hint, if
Hint for what?
that we are ready for the next step, and that is how we.
Yeah. So be careful about spiritual master, not to cross spiritual master. And I'll give you a perfect example that His Holiness Radhanath Swami, the spiritual master, he has not taken sannyas. And His Grace Chaitanya Chandas is a disciple of Radhanath Swami. So Chaitanya Chandas is a monk. So he would say, well, I want to take sannyas. But because his spiritual master has not taken sannyas, therefore Chaitanya Chandas will not take sannyas. Right? You cannot cross your spiritual master. You cannot say, okay, I will go to my spiritual master and ask, give me sannyas. It doesn't work that way. You have to be very careful not to cross your spiritual master. And similarly, we discussed at the overview of Bhagavatam that yes, Bhagavatam translations are available for the previous versions of Bhagavatam. We do not cross Srila Prabhupada except for specific topics that we know that specifically Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has explained a particular topic in a rasic manner that is relevant. Yeah, we go and read that part, but generally we do not cross what Srila Prabhupada has given us in Srimad Bhagavatam. Same applies in all aspects of life, not just one aspect. Sure, Ji.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations?
Yeah, I think probably when we read like Srila Prabhupada Leela, it is quite like surprising like how Prabhupada looks at the person and say, okay, from now you are a sannyasi. But now nowadays it is more structured and it is more like you have to follow the authorities.
Yeah, so what Prabhupada is mentioned as sannyasi is by your activity. So Prabhupada called all his initial disciples as sannyasis, although they were not sannyasi, because Prabhupada's initial disciples, many of them, they used to work in the material world and they used to live in temple ashram. So whatever they used to earn, they used to simply hand over to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said that you are bigger than sannyasis because you are working in the material world, not getting impacted by the material world. Whatever you are earning, you are simply handing it over to me as your spiritual master for Krishna's service. You are sannyasi. Whether or not you have taken the orange dress, by your actions, you are sannyasi. And if you go back to our Bhagavad Gita discussion from chapter 5 at the start, that sannyasi, you don't judge by orange dress. Sannyasi is by your activities, that how much you are attached to Krishna and Krishna's services and Krishna's devotees. Does that answer?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Everybody on the same page? All right, I don't have anything more to discuss. I will send links to Complete Spiritual Endeavor and link to the next recording. Chapter 15, you will still have this recording today as well as one more, which I will send in the group. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare